Today, we're still talking about wisdom, and the title of today's lesson is Wisdom's Invitation. Our text is Proverbs chapter 8 through chapter 10, and we're going to focus on the 9th chapter of Proverbs, the first 18 verses that are there. You know, if you read in chapter 8, the personified woman calls out to the people. In other words, wisdom. She's calling out to the people. And personified means it's giving a human traits, actions or characteristics to non-human things like concepts, objects, or even abstract ideas to make them more vivid and understandable. In Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 5 it says, "O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of understanding heart." This is exactly what God gave Solomon. 1 Kings chapter 3 and verse 12, he says, "Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there is none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee." So in other words, Solomon got the same wisdom that they're offering to the people. The wisdom of Proverbs can only be found in God. And wisdom is part of God's character. The creation itself shows God's wisdom in action. In other words, you want to see that, read Proverbs chapter 8, verses 24 through 31. You'll see how God's wisdom works in the way He just spoke these things into existence. Our world is not lacking when it comes to fools and wickedness, and that's the truth. And at times, we can be quite foolish and prone to wickedness too. Ecclesiastes chapter 10 and verse 14 tells us, "A fool also is full of words. A man cannot tell what shall be after him, or who can tell him?" And then Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 6, "Hear, for I will speak of excellent things, and opening of my lips shall be right things." Verse 7, "For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips." And then Proverbs 8:17, wisdom says this, "I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me." In chapter 8, she's calling out to the people, but in chapter 9, she's inviting them in. The first chapter, she's calling out to them, okay, now she's inviting them to come in. And in verse 1 of chapter 9, "Wisdom hath builded her house, she hath hewn out her 7 pillars." Here we know this wisdom that you're talking about is portrayed as a woman who has built a strong, stable home representing a life founded on God's wisdom. The house of 7 pillars, this signifies a stable, secure dwelling, while the 7 pillars suggest wisdom's completeness, perfection, and foundational strength. And God's wisdom is offered to anyone who asks in faith. James 1:5 tells us that if any lack wisdom, let him ask God that giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. And then verse 6, "But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering, for he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed." So we got to ask for wisdom, but we got to believe that He's going to give us this wisdom. We can't say, well, I'm going to ask God, but He might give me that. I don't know if He's going to give me this wisdom or not. We have to believe that He's going to in order for it to work. Verse 2, "She hath killed her beasts, she hath mingled her wine, she hath also furnished her table." Here, the slaughtered beasts, it signifies the lavishness of the feast, indicating that wisdom does not offer meager provisions, but abundance of spiritual food. The mingled wine talked about here, and it's a furnished table further illustrates that wisdom has made thorough preparations for the guests, offering a complete and satisfying experience. The mingled wine here is talked about. It's not actual wine. It's wine that's been watered down, or there's been herbs added to it to make it more pleasure, more desirable. And then in verse 3, she hath sent forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. She's made a determined effort to invite guests. She's sending forth her servants. The maidens she's talking about. She's sending forth her servants and going herself to the highest places to call out the invitation. She's going to the highest point of the city to call out to these people to invite them in. Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 1 says, doth not wisdom cry, and understanding put forth her voice? Verse 2, she standeth in the top of the high places, by the way in the places of the paths. And then verse 4, whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him. A special appeal is made to the simple, those who lack understanding. The term simple here is often describes someone who is naive, gullible, and easily led astray. Lacking wisdom and discernment, especially in the book of Proverbs, however, the term can also refer to positive qualities signifying sincerity, integrity, and open, unhypocritical nature, as seen in the New Testament. You know, we're talking about, it's not a sin to be a simple person as long as you don't stay that way. God expects us to grow spiritually. He wants us to grow. He doesn't want us to remain where we're at. He wants us to continually to grow to find out more about His Word. And verse 5, come eat of my bread and drink of my wine which I have mingled. Here wisdom is personified as a woman who builds her house, prepares a table, and invites others to partake in the feast. The bread and wine talk about these symbolize spiritual nourishment and divine truth, representing provisions and benefits of life lived in accordance with God's ways. The invitation here, wisdom's calls to the simple or naive, those lacking understanding, inviting them to turn from their foolishness and receive her instruction. Her instruction. The act of eating and drinking simply applies to making wisdom's counsel and integral parts of one's inner being, not just a temporary thought. In other words, it's not just something, it's here one day and the next day it's gone. No, it continually goes on. Verse 6, forsake the foolish and live and go in the way of understanding. This invitation is more than a feast. It's offering a new and better life, is what they're offering here. It says, forsake the foolish. Don't go near the foolish. Stay away from them. But focus on a new life that's offered by better life by God. Verse 7, he that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth him a blot. Here, the ineffectiveness of correcting certain individuals, it is a futile effort to correct someone who is fundamentally resistant to the wisdom of godliness. The importance of discernment. Before offering correction, it's crucial to discern the recipient's attitude. Some people are open to correction and will grow from it, while others will only respond with hatred. It says, the danger of casting pearls before swine. It's pointless to offer wisdom or correction to those who will simply trample it underfoot and turn against the one offering it. In other words, you're just wasting your time trying to talk to a foolish person. They're not interested in what you have to say. In fact, they're probably going to get mad at you and say, who are you to tell me how to live my life? You know, that might be the way they respond to you. Verse 8, here we're talking about the same thing. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. It's a call to exercise prudence and wisdom in dealing with others. It suggests that you should direct your correctional efforts toward receptive individuals who can benefit from it, rather than confronting those who are unwilling to listen and will only become more hostile. So you have to be careful who you approach as far as offering wisdom and trying to talk to a person. Verse 9, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. A truly wise person and a righteous person will always be receptive to instruction and correction. A person is truly wise. He's not going to get mad when you try and correct him or offer correction or try and help him. He's going to be willing to do whatever he can to correct that. I didn't finish that part. I said a truly wise person and a righteous person will always be receptive to instruction and correction and will become even wiser or increase in learning from it. This stands in contrast to a foolish person who will hate correction. In other words, it shows you both sides of the coin here. A person who is truly wise is going to be receptive to what you have. A foolish person, he's going to reject it. He's going to come after you. He's going to show hatred towards you and could even harm you if you continue to pursue that. Verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Here we're showing this is a key, repeats a key teaching of Proverbs that beginning of wisdom is a right relationship with the Lord. A relationship that begets a worshiping and submissive, I'll get it right in a minute, submissive reverence for Him. In other words, the fear that it's talking about is showing a reverence for God, holding Him for what He is, putting Him up where He belongs. And here, he says, of the holy is understand. He's referring to the knowledge of the Holy One. And then we know the Holy One there is referred to as God. The title Isaiah used so often for God is he called Him the Holy One. And verse 11, for by me thy days shall be multiplied, and thy years of thy life shall be increased. It's a long life bestowed by wisdom. He's offering you may live a longer life by accepting and taking the wisdom as God's offering. Now we have to realize there are young people that are truly godly and wise and following the Lord, and they still die at a young age. So you have to apply this and realizing that this may not happen to everyone, but most people, it's offered to them, they're going to benefit from it. Verse 12, if thou be wise, thou shalt be wise for myself, but if thou scornest, thou alone shalt bear it. If we scorn wisdom, it can cause us unnecessary suffering. If we scorn wisdom or talk against it, we could have suffering that normally that we wouldn't have. Now we're going to show the contrast. We talked about the wise woman who invited people into her house for wisdom. Now this is the other side of the coin. A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing. Here, wisdom warns us of the foolish woman. She has her house too, but it's not splendid structure or of the 7 pillars, by wisdom. She has her own house, but it's not compared to the first house that's offering to us. Clamorous refers to a harsh and rowdy person. She has no regard for wisdom and godliness. For she sitteth, this is verse 14 and verse 15, for she sitteth by the door of her house, on a seat in the highest places of the city, to call out passengers who go right on their way. She does the same thing that the woman of wisdom stands. She does the same very thing. You know, some have described her as a prostitute. If you think about it, it kind of reminds you of that type of a person. Because she sits in the door of her house waiting for those to invite them in, to lure them into her. So you got to be careful. Personified as a woman sitting at a prominent place in the city to lure unsuspecting passerbys into her destructive path with tempting but dangerous invitations. Verse 16 says, whoso is simple, let him turn in hither, and as for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, she seeks the simple, and the person's lacking understanding, that wisdom also seeks. So she's going after the same people that wisdom is going after. She's trying to pull them away from that. But the foolish woman's intentions were vastly different from those of wisdom. She had different ideas, different things that she was offering that doesn't compare to what the woman of wisdom was offering. Godly wisdom, I might add, is what we're talking about. Now, verse 17, stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. Forbidden pleasures symbolized by stolen waters. That's what stolen waters are referring to, forbidden pleasures. And bread eaten in secret are alluring because they seem exciting and illicit. But her purpose is evil. She suggests, as did the adulteress of Proverbs chapter 7, 18 through 19, that forbidden pleasures practiced in secret is more enjoyable, and if done in secret, no one will know. Wrong. God's going to know. We can't hide anything from God. We better think twice before we come up with, oh, no one's going to know what I'm doing. God knows. And I think sometimes I forget that. God does know what's going on, so you have to be careful. And then verse 18, but he knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. Those who are drawn into seductive, deceitful paths of folly are unaware of the ultimate consequences, which are death and spiritual destruction in the depths of Sheol. And this is the remains of the dead, or the realm of the dead. And then this reveals the reality that there is no escape from the eyes of God, and that he has declared a severe penalty for the sin. So we can't hide anything from God. And there's a severe penalty for practicing those things. Now, the application here is, the lesson for today has been a look into the homes of wisdom and foolishness. Wisdom's home is spacious and welcoming. She provides her guests with excellent meal from her own making. She gives them instruction on wisdom and understanding and how they will increase their lives and pleasures. All are invited to attend her dinner, and all who accept go away better. The foolish woman, home is located in the highest places of the city. And verse 14 tells us that. This calls to mind the places of idolatry and sin associating with it. Her meal does not compare to that of wisdom. She can only offer stolen waters and bread, and acceptance of her invitation is to enter death and hell. So you got to be careful. And that was a short lesson for today, so that's all I have for today. Any comments? Brother Hess?
Well, I just, one of the things that we have to realize is that wisdom is a step that needs to be taken. And just like life, God allows things to take place in our lives to take us up another step closer to Him. He has a path that we should follow, which we're told throughout the Old Testament about the path. He has a path for us to follow. But going to school and getting a degree or getting all kinds of paperwork to show how great you were at school, that doesn't mean that you have all the wisdom that you need.
That's true.
Wisdom is a step, and in wisdom, there's a step. When we went through school, I remember, I can't speak for the other preachers, but I remember that when I got out of school, I remember studying some things, and some of the things that I was taught in school, I couldn't agree with. Some of the books that were used and some of the opinions in those books, I couldn't agree with. And as I studied and I studied, I found out why God gave me that thought. But I still wasn't wise. After 50-some years of teaching and preaching the Word, I'm still learning. I'm not at that peak yet until I go to be with the Lord.
Amen, that's right.
When we're with the Lord, He'll clarify everything with us. But we can't give up just, on reading a book. We have to study if we're going to get wisdom. But we have to study from the right area in order to get that. And we have to realize, I like verse 10. The fear of the Lord, otherwise recognizing Him for who He is,
Exactly.
appreciating who He is, and following Him is the beginning of wisdom. Doesn't say that's wisdom.
It's just the beginning.
It's the beginning. That's step one in life. And then he goes on, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Wisdom brings about an understanding of things that we have no understanding of. And I was looking over at verse 13 in chapter 8, where it says, the fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Well, that's a step in wisdom. When we study the Word of God, we allow Him to lead our path, we're going to hate the evil things that maybe at one time we thought were okay.
That's true. That's true.
Pride and arrogancy and the evil way and the forward mouth do I hate. Another learning process, more wisdom in the things that we come across. Receive my instruction, verse 10 of chapter 8. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. Today, so many people, including some Christians, the first thing they have in mind is the money.
That's right.
If I have to do this instead of doing this, I'm going to have to go this way because I earn more money by going this way than going here or being here. So he hits on that as far as a step in wisdom. He says, O ye simple, understand wisdom, and ye fools, be ye of an understanding heart. We have to allow the heart seek what is the things that we need to know if we're going to have wisdom. The only place where you can get the actual correct information that we need to have in order to live the life that God wants us to live and get that wisdom is looking at this book, and not just looking at it, not just reading it, studying it, dig deep into the very depths that you can possibly get, and then be in classes where you can be taught properly. That brings wisdom. Again, he brings that out. Verse 14, chapter 8, counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding, I have strength. You see, the more wisdom we get, the stronger we get. The stronger our minds will get and understand more and more about what we're up against. So all these things, and that's why I feel that it would have been great, if we had a chance to go through 8, because that's the beginning of what he's trying to lead off.
Right.
Verse 9 and verse 10, carrying on. So we're missing all those great points that are in those other verses to lead the step to what he's bringing out in the next chapter. Because these are just things that he goes on and on and on. He builds the ladder. He gives you the steps to take. This is not it. This is what you need. This is the way you have to go. So those are the things that I saw in looking at these things. Taking a look and taking the time that reads this. I put things on Facebook about the Bible occasionally. And I had one person that said, well, you just put too many verses on, you put too much on. Oh, I'm sorry. Too much? I mean, you're getting verses and stuff like that you can follow in your Bible, Write those things down, because there's a step in each one of those verses that are given. So, wisdom comes from searching more and more and more. But I just thought that was a little bit funny, you put 10 verses on there. It's usually about 10 verses that goes along with the topic.
Right, yeah, each verse is explaining a point that you're trying to bring out. Yeah.
And there were some that were pretty wise, and they knew that they weren't good, so.
Okay.
But that's what I got out of chapters 8 and 9.
Thank you.
There's more than 10 that we could.
Oh, yeah, we could have got more. We could have went on more. In chapter 10, we could have got some more, I'm sure. Kim?
When I was in Sunday school in Coloma, Sister Hester was one of my teachers. And she said that wisdom and truth were tools that we could use all of our lives. It was a cheat sheet for success. And then she went on and she said, think about your life and the rules of God. Don't drink, don't have premarital relationships, don't, she went through a short list and she said, so let's look in the future, 10 years, 20 years. If you followed all of God's rules, what have you missed out on? If you don't follow God's rules, what pitfalls have you fallen into?
That's true.
And she just made it so simple. Like, it's a cheat sheet, If you know what God's rules are, and you know He loves you, you trust in Him, just follow the cheat sheet. It'll get you out of so much trouble and avoid so much conflict and heartache. And I tried to teach that to my kids, when I was teaching Sunday school, and then of course our boys. But she was so right. It absolutely, just using God's word as a cheat sheet. You don't have the whole Bible. Obviously, it was at 16, but just a few simple things, and compare every choice you come to those simple things. And if the answer is no, then avoid it. Go away. Push it away. So.
What I like about it, and I'll talk that, if we stumble or fall, God's not going to come down on us. Well, what was the matter with you? I had to give you that. Why didn't you give? No, He's going to pick us up and move us along and help us. He's not, and I'm thankful for that. He's not ever going to come down on us or pass judgment on us because we make a mistake and stumble. We're human. And that's our human nature. We're going to stumble from time to time. And I like the fact that God's a loving God, that He's going to pick us up and move us along. Anyone else? Bob?
One of the things I was just thinking about is some of the things our government is doing. Some of the laws that are, some of the judges that we have that are turning murderers loose after 5
I know.
years or something like that. But here again, wisdom. our government would have more wisdom if our people that were governing the body would study this book, because what does the Bible say about if you murder somebody? What does the Bible say we're supposed to do? They're supposed to die. They committed murder. They took a life. They are supposed to die. But now you have everybody that thinks that you can kill somebody and get off in time. They have that one person that had come here illegally, and he had been put in jail 15 times. He had almost murdered somebody, and he was turned loose again and again, and then he murdered somebody again. The book tells us how these things should be handled. It tells us why we have a government. It's because God instituted that. But they're supposed to follow the book that this was set on. So we are following so far away, they're going just completely opposite of what this. How are we supposed to expect America to ever be what was thought to be for America if we forget the book that this nation was settled about? So wisdom is lacking in our government.
Oh, definitely so.
And we can't believe that electing one particular person is going to be perfect.
No,
It's not going to be.
no.
That person is just as human as we are. We don't always do the right thing. They're not going to always do the right thing. I don't 100% agree with what our president does sometimes. But I do like some of the things he's doing to correct some of the things.
Right.
You can't judge the mistakes completely. You got to see where the steps are going. We have to look at these things. We've got people in office. And we got to be praying. And that's another thing that we're told. If we're wise, one of the things we need to do in order to see things go the right direction is pray, ask God to say, who should I vote for? We have a man running right now for the state of Michigan. He's having a problem. He's trying to decide whether he should run for governor of Michigan or as a congressman. I've studied a lot about this man. I know what I think I would like to see him do. And I'm praying for that person because we need a good governor. That he runs for governor and wins it because he is a Christian. He also was a veteran. He served in many positions, so he has an understanding a lot. So we need to use that wisdom. We need to pray and see God's will, not our own.
Exactly. You said something earlier before we started a lesson about Russia and what they're trying to do. I seen something, I think it was on Facebook, where China was trying to challenge the U.S. Navy. And that's a mistake right there. So, it's coming from all around us. I mean.
Well, it's not a mistake.
No.
They know what they're doing by doing that.
Yeah.
Because they know right now that we don't have people that believe in taking a stand anymore.
That's true.
That's why Russia can send airplanes along the border of Alaska, and we let it go. China, and what China's doing, what they're telling us they're going to do about this one place, and that one place. And we're just, we're sitting back. We have somebody that's trying to do these things, but there again, you have people here that are fighting, you have people that are fighting. So you got to find some way that you can get these. And there again, wisdom. We have to pray. We have to pray that God gives those people the wisdom that's needed. And we got to speak up. We can't just sit and say, well, we're going to leave this. I know a preacher, and he's for woke. And he puts it on Facebook. He's for woke. And he thinks all these things that we're doing to try to correct wrong are wrong. We know this. I didn't meet him personally, but I know him because of family members that are
Right.
in his church.
Okay.
And now I'm scared to death because, well, you gotta take wisdom.
You don't need to say anymore.
They have a convincing message if you're not rooted in truth.
If we don't have any other comments, Perry, would you dismiss us?